Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So my first hero for the day, apart from those I've mentioned, any guesses who it's going to be? That's my last hero. Madhavendra Puri. How many of you have not heard of Madhavendra Puri? Raise your hands. Not heard of Madhavendra Puri? On this side? Okay. Madhavendra Puri is one of those extraordinary devotees of the Lord, endowed with super excellent devotional qualities that qualify him to definitely be one of our greatest heroes. In fact, he was also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's hero. After Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, and at the request of his mother, he went to Jagannath Puri rather than going to Vrindavan, as was his own desire. Then, on the way from Katwa, which is the place where he took sannyas, to Jagannath Puri, he passed through certain parts of Orissa state in India. And they came to a place called Remuna. In Remuna, there was a temple, a very famous temple, Kheer Chora Gopinath. And at this temple, as they sat down, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu narrated to the devotees who were accompanying him the story of how the temple of Kheer Chora Gopinath, which was formerly called Gopinath only, became so known. How did the term Kheer Chora come to Gopinath? And he started describing the glories of Madhavendra Puri. And as you all know, Madhavendra Puri was the grand spiritual master of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's guru was Ishwar Puri, and Ishwar Puri's guru was Madhavendra Puri. Now, Madhavendra Puri was a very renounced devotee. He was completely situated on the transcendental platform. He was always absorbed in ecstatic love for Krishna. And in that ecstasy, sometimes he would not know the difference between day and night, and he would wander in the different holy places and here and there in his absorption in Krishna consciousness. In fact, the Gaudiya Sampradaya actually starts from Madhavendra Puri in a sense, because it was he who first demonstrated or exhibited the symptoms of ecstatic love that are found in the love of Vrindavan for Krishna, which is extraordinary, because normally, even though devotion to the Lord is very rare in any case, even rarer is the love that is found in Vrindavan. And Madhavendra Puri was exhibiting that kind of love for Krishna. And he followed a particular kind of method for eating, which is called the Ayachika Vritti, which means that he wouldn't eat any food unless someone came forward and offered it to him. And that's something, isn't it? Because he was so absorbed in hearing and chanting about Krishna that he didn't feel any need for physical food and drink. And when somebody came forward and said, "Here is some food," then he would happily accept it. And if it didn't come, he was satisfied also in that. So one time he arrived at phones, please. Phone, someone's phone is ringing. Mm-hmm. Yes. So he came to Govardhan area, and as he sat at the place that is now called Govind Kund, a very, very holy place. Many of you who've been to Govardhan, of course, have been to Govind Kund. It is a place where the Abhishek of Krishna took place, and where he was anointed as the real king of the Devas. And he was called Govinda, given the name by Surabhi and Indra, after the whole pastime of the Govardhan lifting. So he came there and sat under a tree, and he was quite hungry, and he had been tired, he had been walking and walking a lot. And all of a sudden, one small boy came to him, who looked very beautiful. He was a local lad, it appeared, a cowherd boy. And he came to him and said, "So Babaji, you're sitting here all alone without eating any food, and what have you been thinking about? And why are you hungry? In my village, no one goes hungry. So the ladies in our village, they saw you, and they sent me with this pot of milk for you. So please take this." Madhavendra Puri was struck with wonder to see this little beautiful boy. And he realized this was no ordinary boy, but nevertheless he didn't realize who he was actually. And very grateful, he accepted the pitcher of milk and drank it. And the boy said, "I will be back very soon to collect the pot from you." And the milk was absolutely nectarian. And after being fully satisfied with that milk, Madhavendra Puri sat there waiting for the boy to return, but he never came back. So as he waited, he dozed off to sleep. And in his sleep, the same boy appeared to him in a dream and told him, "Madhava Puri, it's me. I came to you in the dream, and now I want that you do this particular service for me. My great-grandson, Vajranab, had installed me, my deity, on top of the hill. But somehow or the other, due to the fear of the Mughal invasions, some pujaris took my deity and hid me. They hid me in the bushes, and I've been there for a long, long time. So you please take me out of those bushes and place me on top of Govardhan Hill and build a nice temple there for me." And he indicated the exact location of the place where he would be in the bushes. So then immediately when Madhavendra Puri woke up, he took his bath and gathered the villagers around, and then they went to the place that had been indicated by Gopal. in the dream. And they found the deity there eventually. Then they installed the deity on the top of Govardhan. A grand installation ceremony happened along with an annakut where many, many offerings were made. And people from many villages came every day. So this festival happened day after day for many days. And Madhavendra Puri oversaw the festivities. And people in the whole Braja area were overjoyed that Gopal had now come back to Govardhan and he was the presiding deity in that area. So this went on for 2 years. The festivals went on for a few days, and then after that, the worship of Govardhan, of Gopalji was going on for 2 years. And a second time, Gopal appeared in a dream to Madhavendra Puri and said, "I'm very happy with your service. But you see, I've been hidden in the bushes for so long, amongst the thorns and the dust and the heat and so on, that the heat of my body has still not cooled down. So I would like you to go and bring some Malaya Chandan for me, some sandalwood from Malaya. And then my body will be, then you apply the paste to my body and then I will be cool." Now, Malaya is a province, as Srila Prabhupada explains, in the Nilgiris, or in the northern part of Kerala, the southern part of the states of Karnataka, in the western coast of India, the southwestern coast of India. And that is called Malaya province. And the sandalwood that is obtained there is called Malayaja Chandan. Chandan means sandalwood. It's supposed to be very special, very fragrant. It's world famous. So Madhavendra Puri immediately awoke and went there without hesitation. He just established the deity worship in a proper way and set out for the southernmost tip of India. You can imagine it's a long journey. In those days there were no trains and flights to get, no cars. They had to walk. So he walked and walked and walked. And he came down south on his way, and then he halted at Remuna because he wanted to go via Jagannath Puri to that province of Malaya. Now as he was at the Malaya province, I beg your pardon, at the Remuna temple of Gopinath, he ecstatically offered obeisances, chanted, danced, just as Mahaprabhu was later to do. And he saw that a very special offering was being made here. The kheer, or the sweet rice that is offered to Gopinath there in that temple, is especially famous. It was called Amrit Keli. It was sheer nectar. And it was time for the offering. The pujari was coming carrying the bowls of sweet rice to be offered to Gopinath. And Madhavendra Puri started thinking, "Oh, I wish I could taste it, so I could know how it tasted, and then I would cook the same thing for my Gopal in Govardhan." And then immediately he became very annoyed with himself. He said, "Oh, what have I done? I have committed a very great offense against the deity." What was the offense? You see, you shouldn't, what to speak of not eating anything without offering to Krishna, you should not even think about eating anything that is not offered to Krishna. And especially when something is about to go on the altar, and then you look at, "Oh, this is so delicious. Just look at this, this and this. Oh, I want that one." So we decide beforehand, and this is what I want to eat. Once it's offered, I'm going to stand at the door. As soon as it comes out, I'm going to take that. It's an offense, actually. We shouldn't do that. It's called a seva aparad. So that's why there is an instruction that whenever food is being taken to the altar, it should always be covered so that no one sees it. What to speak of animals, because even animals may see it and they may want to eat, but even human beings may feel like eating it. So it's covered. In any case, because he desired to even eat, it wasn't for sense gratification that he wanted to eat. He only wanted to eat it so that he could know how it tasted, so that he could cook exactly the same thing for Gopal. But then he felt so bad. He said, I'm such an offender that I better not stay here. So immediately left the temple and went to a marketplace. By the time it was late evening, the market was closed, everybody had retired to their respective homes, it was quiet, and Madhavendra Puri sat there chanting, and he was taking rest for the getting ready to take rest for the night. In the meanwhile, the pujari offered the sweet rice, and then he he placed them there and went to bed. At night, the Gopinath appeared in the dream of the pujari and said, look, by my tricks, I have hidden one pot of sweet rice. You removed the other pots, but there's one pot that you forgot to remove. That's behind my feet. So go out, go on the altar, and take that pot which is behind my feet, which I've hidden from you, and you go to the marketplace and find a sannyasi called Madhavendra Puri, and you give it to him. So the pujari was astonished. He awoke and he took his bath and rushed to the temple, went to the altar, and lo and behold, he found that the kheer, the sweet rice, was right there. And being struck with wonder, he took that sweet rice and went straight away to the forest, to the marketplace. And as he went to the market, he was shouting out loud, where is that fortunate soul Madhavendra Puri? Where is that greatly fortunate Madhavendra Puri for whom the Lord has stolen sweet rice? Where is that Madhavendra Puri? So he was going around like that. And Madhavendra Puri heard his name being called out. And he said, yes, I'm Madhavendra Puri, what's the matter? He said, the pujari came and offered prostrated obeisances to him and said, oh, you are so fortunate. The Lord has stolen this sweet rice for you. And he gave him that bowl of sweet rice. Madhavendra Puri went into an ecstatic trance of devotion, thinking about the Lord's mercy. How merciful is Gopinath that he has actually stolen and kept aside a pot of his prasadam, Mahaprasadam, for me. And in great ecstasy he swooned. And then he took that Mahaprasad, he ate it. It was sheer nectar. And then after that he broke that little mud pot, into pieces. And then every day he would take a little piece of that mud pot. He would eat the mud. Because this pot was not an ordinary pot. It was a pot that had been personally touched by Krishna and hidden behind his feet. It wasn't an ordinary pot. Sometimes when devotees go to Brahmanda Ghat in Gokul, Braja, then they take the dust or the mud from that place, carry it, and they eat a little bit every day. In remembrance of Krishna's pastimes of eating dirt. So anyway, Madhavendra Puri then, he broke the pot into little pieces and kept it in a little cloth, tied. And then he went on. Meanwhile, he realized that people here, this pujari is not going to keep quiet. The pujari is going to tell everybody about me. And he's going to glorify me like anything. And Madhavendra Puri was such a great devotee, he didn't want to be glorified. He didn't want name and fame. So he said, let me run away from here. So he ran away from there. And he said, I better not stay here. And then he immediately, in the middle of the night, he started walking towards Jagannath Puri. Now, as you know, he walked, and it took a while. It takes a couple of hours even to drive down from Puri to Remuna. So it must have taken him a fair amount of time to walk and reach Puri. But as Providence would have it, before he reached Jagannath Puri, news about his glories and this particular pastime had already reached Jagannath Puri. Maybe some people had access to, Facebook and email or something. Maybe Madhavendra Puri didn't know that a couple of people had this WhatsApp and everything. But somehow the word reached Jagannath Puri before Madhavendra Puri reached there. And when he went for darshan of Jagannath, there were crowds of people. Oh, here is Madhavendra Puri, here is Madhavendra Puri. The Lord stole sweet rice for him. And he became a hero. But he was a most reluctant hero. He didn't want anything to do with this fame and name and glory and all that. He just wanted to remember Krishna and chant and hear about Krishna and dance in ecstasy. He didn't want to have all this glorification. So anyway, but somehow the other people came to know. And Kaviraj Goswami explains in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that the nature of fame in this world is that it comes, whether one wants it or not, according to one's destiny. Or it may not come. See, there are some people who struggle like anything for name and fame and they don't get it. Or at the most they may get infamy. And there are some people who don't struggle for name and fame, but fame is thrust upon them. So, it comes according to our destiny. And great devotees like Madhavendra Puri, they do not want fame. But such is the nature of devotional service to Krishna that when one becomes a pure devotee of Krishna, fame personified relentlessly chases that devotee. Even though the devotee doesn't want, the devotee says, go away, don't chase me, don't chase me. But that fame personified just doesn't give up and chases that devotee and catches that devotee. And then the devotee becomes very famous. So now Madhavendra Puri was in a real predicament. He thought to himself, now I've become famous. Now what a tragedy. What to do now? So then he said, but anyway, I have my service to do. I have come here not to avoid fame. I have come here to do service. I don't want fame, but I have not come here to avoid fame. That's not the point of my coming here. I came here out of obedience to the Lord. I came here to do some service to Gopal. He instructed me to go and collect some sandalwood. So then I should do my service. And whether there's something unpleasant that has come into my life like fame, unpleasant? For Madhavendra Puri it was unpleasant. So though this unpleasant thing has happened in my life that I've got famous, but I can't allow it to distract me from my service to Krishna, to Gopal. So then he got down to business. He went and met some officials and other devotees, and eventually the king heard about Madhavendra Puri, and then by the king's arrangement, a good deal of Gopi Chand, Malaya Chandan was arranged, along with camphor, and there was the king arranged for certain documents so that he wouldn't have to pay customs duty and octroi and all those things. And the border agencies at different states, they would extract all sorts of taxes. So he had this written document that would not give him any trouble. And furthermore, some bodyguards were sent with him and 2 Brahmana assistants were sent with him. So then he set out again back for Govardhan, because he knew I don't have to go all the way now to Malaya province in South India. Gopal has arranged for me to get it here. But remember that Madhavendra Puri, when he set out from Govardhan, he didn't know that he would get the provision at Jagannath Puri, that he wouldn't have to go all the way to Kerala way in the south. He was prepared because he was only concerned not about the difficulty of walking all the way from Govardhan to the southern tip of India, but he only saw it as a joy, not as a burden. And as he got the sandalwood and he walked back, he once again stopped at Ramuna because he had a job to do. He couldn't run away from Ramuna now, it was on the way. So then he had darshan of Gopinath, which was now called Khirchora Gopinath. And then he had the Amrit Keli Prasadam there, Mahaprasadam. And he had another dream. For the third time, Gopal from Govardhan appeared to him in a dream and said, Madhava Puri. The Lord used to call him Madhava Puri. He was Madhavendra Puri, but for short, you would call him by this nickname. So, Madhava Puri. Now, actually, you've got this, taken so much trouble for me. You've gone all the way risking your life because there's so many dacoits and thieves along the way. And it was a fact that that area from Vrindavan all the way down, from Govardhan to Puri, was a very dangerous tract of land. There were many dacoits who would come and kill and rob. So Gopal said, Madhava Puri, you've taken so much trouble for me, you've risked your life, and now you've taken the trouble of carrying all the sandalwood back. But I'll tell you what, you just apply this sandalwood. I think somebody should take care of the children. Is some class going on elsewhere for the children? Okay. Yeah. So, where was I? Yes, so Gopal said that actually you just smear the paste of this sandalwood on Gopinath in Remuna. And there's no difference between Gopinath and me. So then when Gopinath is cooled, then I will also be cooled here in Vrindavan, in Govardhan. So then he was happy to hear that instruction. And then he arranged for the sandalwood to be ground nicely. And then till such time as the whole sandalwood was exhausted, every single day, this sandalwood paste would be applied on the transcendental body of Krishna, of the deity of Gopinath. And of course, Gopal there in Govardhan was very happy. By the time Gopinath was satisfied, then he left Remuna, went back to Jagannath Puri and lived there for the rest of the Chaturmasya period. Now, I have narrated this episode to extol the glories of Madhavendra Puri. And I want to ask you now, one by one, you can raise your hand and say, what are those great qualities that you found in Madhavendra Puri that qualify him to be a hero for us, and which become good lessons for us to learn, very practical lessons for our life? We cannot imitate Madhavendra Puri in terms of following the Ayachika Vritti. Of course, that we don't need to be encouraged to follow, that we will go and get prasadam when we are hungry. But we can't imitate him, but nevertheless, there's many things, valuable lessons we can learn from Madhavendra Puri. It is because of these sterling qualities that he has that he becomes one of our heroes. Okay, so would you like to raise your hand? Yes, one quality, one thing, one lesson.
Love to serve Gopal.
Say that again.
His love to serve Gopal.
His love to serve Gopal. What's the lesson for us? What's the lesson we learn? We should also try to be attached to Krishna and to Gopal like Madhavendra Puri was. But it's hard for us to be just attached to, in general, Krishna, right? Any specific thing? To the deity. Also, because Krishna manifests in the form of the deity to make our attachment to him easier. So we can learn the lesson of how important it is for us to try to cultivate attachment to Krishna and even attachment to the deity of Krishna. You may have your household deity, or we have definitely the deity in the temple. Sometimes for devotees who were serving significantly in the temple, Prabhupada forbade them from having their household deities. Do you know why? Yes, why? Yes, because they become so attached to their home deities, then they won't come to the temple and serve the temple deities. So in some cases, Prabhupada said, for you, your home deities are the temple deities. So you come here and serve the temple deities. And in some cases, of course, it is not possible for everyone to come all day to the temple or live in the temple. So then, as householders, it is very important to have household deities. You may have pictures, you may have small deities, whatever according to your capacity. But it is important for us to learn to be attached to Krishna. Anyone who has developed that attachment for Krishna is our hero. So we also want that kind of attachment. A hero, after all, is one who is exemplary in his or her character and dealings and character traits. So these are role models for us. So Madhavendra Puri's devotion and attachment for Krishna is very important. Now the next question I'm going to ask is, his attachment to Krishna meant what? Attachment to what? Yes, serving Krishna, that's right. Just plain attachment, that's not anything significant. It must be attachment to serving Krishna. Simply saying I'm attached to Krishna and not doing any service, that's not any attachment at all. One time, when I was in another city, after a lecture, one lady asked the question. She said that, why I have to chant and everything. I just remember in my heart Krishna. I remember Krishna. I love Krishna in my heart. I just remember. Many people say that. Why should I, chant, beads, go to the temple or read? I just love in the heart. So I said, you have children? She says, yes. They were grown-ups. I said, when at one time they were small? She said, yes. So when your children were very small, you loved them? You love them now also, but then you loved them? She said, yes. So when they were very hungry and thirsty, you just told them, I love you very much, my children, just... Or did you do something? Yes, you cooked for them, you took care of them. So if you say you love your children but you don't serve them, then what is the meaning of that love? There's no meaning. Love has no meaning without service. Your love is indicated by your serving. So similarly, love for Krishna. If you love Krishna, if you say, I'm thinking, I love Krishna in my heart, then that love must manifest in the form of service. So as Madhavendra Puri was attached to Krishna, it meant that he was attached to serving Krishna. So we should also be very strongly attached to serving Krishna. And whatever may be that service. Madhavendra Puri sometime had to do deity worship, and sometime he had to actually go and do some purchasing from the market, like you have to go, so he had to go to get sandalwood. But he was attached to serving Krishna. Okay, what other lesson do we learn from Madhavendra Puri? Yes, attached to service and completely detached from name and fame. This is one of those really rare things. And it's only possible for somebody who is very, very advanced. Why? Because one can conquer the senses relatively easily, even though that is also difficult, but relatively still it's easy. You may be able to conquer the urge to eat and so many things, but the urge for being recognized, for being famous, for getting hero worship, adoration, distinction in the world, you have newspaper, photograph published and so on and so forth, and being recognized everywhere you go and everybody's saying, look, 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 there is that person. Or that is something very difficult. And Madhavendra Puri had absolutely no desire. And we saw how he actually ran away from fame. Good point. That's a very important lesson for us. So we may not have fame in the outside world, But when we come in the devotee community, then we may start thinking, I want to be famous as a good devotee in the devotee community. Then amongst the devotees, I should be well known. Oh, this devotee does such wonderful, kirtan. Or this devotee gives such wonderful lectures. Or this devotee does such and such things so wonderfully. So you see, the nature to seek that name and fame, that anartha, is very deep in the heart of the conditioned living entity. So we get inspiration from our hero Madhavendra Puri that we should be callous about this. We should be worried only about pleasing Krishna and pleasing the great Vaishnavas rather than seeking glorification even in the community of devotees, what to speak of the outside world. What's another lesson we can learn from Madhavendra Puri?
He was not at all proud even after being almost having a perfection of life that all Gopinath himself was stealing the food for him. So he was not proud that Lord interacted with me only.
That's right. He didn't become proud that Gopinath stole the sweet rice just from me. Right? In everyday life, we get proud even if some big man gives us something special. But he did not become proud. In fact, others were struck with wonder, and he was in ecstasy not because he got it, thinking how glorious I am that Krishna selected me, but he was in ecstasy about the merciful quality of Krishna, that Krishna did it even for him. So he appreciated the mercy of Krishna. Yes, something more? Obedience to what? To whom?
He was not questioning Krishna. He was taking Malayada. He has to go for a long distance, but for serving Krishna.
Yes. So he followed Krishna's instruction. He was very obedient. And he didn't hesitate to follow Krishna's instruction. He was surrendered. He didn't consider the difficulties. And this is an important point that Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami makes and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also makes. That when he was given this service, he immediately executed that. He began his work on that. He didn't consider, oh, this is such a difficult job. How can I do it? Oh, this is so risky. I won't do this. He never considered that to be a burden. He considered that to be an occasion of joy. So similarly, when we also take up services for Krishna, the lesson we learn is that we shouldn't consider services to be a burden. No matter how difficult or easy they may be, we should do them with joy, with eagerness, and it is this kind of service attitude that actually pleases Krishna very much. This is an important lesson that we can learn from Madhavendra Puri. Any other lessons? Yes. Say that again.
Determination, one point, because he, in spite of getting sandalwood, still Madhavendra wanted to go to Maya and go to Yoga. Because the sandalwood didn't.
One-pointed determination. Yes, because he, despite so many difficulties, he still wanted to go ahead and get that sandalwood. And what is important is, he didn't consider his personal discomfort. That's a very important point. Please note this. In the execution of his devotional service, he gave importance to what Gopal asked him to do, not his own sense of discomfort. What was his discomfort? No, that fame. Of course, the physical discomfort he didn't consider. But even the fame that came to him, he was very uncomfortable with that. He wanted to just run away, like he did from Yamuna. But he thought, I'm not here for my comfort or discomfort. That's not a consideration. What's the consideration? what Gopal wants. What does Gopal want? He wants a sandalwood. I'm here for that. So let me consider that and not be worried about my comfort and discomfort. So sometimes for Krishna's service, somebody has to take on a frontline position, even though they may not like it. They may not want to be in the forefront, but because that's the service they have to do for Krishna, they accept it. Not for the sake of glory or name or fame or for any other material reason, but because that's what they are asked to do and required to do. So we don't try to aspire for name, fame, etc. We don't go out of our way to try to get it. And even if it comes of its own accord, we don't want it. We try to avoid it. But if, for the service of Krishna, it is necessary to accept a position, it is necessary to accept some sense of discomfort that comes by being on the high profile, so be it. So this is also an important consideration. And we don't let our personal happiness or distress come in the way of service to Krishna. Does anyone know the instance of Rukmini Devi fanning Krishna? What happened? Who knows that? Yes.
She was fanning Krishna, she was feeling lots of ecstasy, like she was flying, so hand was wavering. And then she realized she should not allow her ecstasy to come in the way of serving Krishna. So she controlled her emotions so that the service can...
Wonderful, very nice. Rukmini Devi was the chief queen of Krishna in Dwarka. So one time she was serving Krishna with the fan, the chamara fan. And in doing that service, she was feeling so much ecstasy, the symptoms of ecstasy were manifesting in her body. And the eightfold symptoms. And because of that, she was not able to do any service. She was almost falling unconscious with ecstasy, and the body was trembling, and there were tears, and hair standing on end, and everything. Then she realized that if I succumb to these symptoms of ecstasy, then I won't be able to serve. So she controlled herself. She said, forget about this ecstasy. I am here for service, not for ecstasy. Yes? So an important lesson we learn from Rukmini Devi and also from Madhavendra Puri, that we are not here for our happiness. We are not here to avoid distress. We are here to serve Krishna and Krishna's devotees and to please them. A very, very important consideration. Initially, when we come to Krishna consciousness, we are told, material world is a place of suffering. Come to Krishna consciousness and you can be happy, which is a fact. It's not a falsehood, it's true. And we need that kind of motivation and impetus to be able to come to Krishna's service. However, as we advance in our Krishna consciousness, then we begin to understand it's not about my happiness. It's not about my distress. It's about Krishna's happiness. This is the mode exemplified by Madhavendra Puri, and that is why he was so dear to Krishna. He was following in the footsteps of the Brajabasis in this regard. Who can tell one little story about this? About how the Brajabasis weren't concerned with their own pain and they just wanted to give Krishna happiness. Yes? Yes. The gopis gave the dust from their feet to cure Krishna's headache. One time Krishna had a headache and everybody was wondering what to do. And they called everybody, but nobody was able to find a cure. And finally, when Narad Muni came, Krishna said, there's only one cure for it. That's the dust from the feet of my devotee. Narad Muni, can you give? And Narad Muni recoiled in horror and said, dust from my feet on your head, my Lord? how can that be? How can I do such a thing? So then he said, all right, go and ask the gopis of Vraj. So Narad Muni went to Vraj and he met the gopis. Oh, Narad Muni, our obeisances to you. So what news have you brought? He said, Krishna has a headache. Really, Krishna has a headache. So, yes, so what's happened? Is there no medicine? No, there's only one medicine. The dust from the feet of his devotees. He wants to put that on his head. So he said, really, is that the only cure? Then take the dust as much as you like. Take from our feet. And they started filling buckets and buckets of dust. Take as much as you like. And Narad Muni said that, don't you realize? You're putting dust from your feet on Krishna's head? You'll go to hell. So the gopis said, we don't mind living in hell eternally if Krishna can be relieved from headache even for one moment. Then Narad Muni understood why Krishna had sent him here. So this is the mood. So the gopis, they are heroes for us. Madhavendra Puri, heroes for us. Because they don't consider their own pain and pleasure, their own comfort and discomfort, their own happiness and distress. They're only concerned with Krishna's happiness, with doing Krishna's service properly for his pleasure. Doing service for our pleasure, that's another thing. We do service for Krishna's pleasure, not because I like it, but because Krishna likes it and Krishna wants me to do it. Any other lessons that we learn from this episode? Yes.
Humiliation. He just got one moment that he want to taste the milk rice and then he want to put it and he felt very sorry for that. So he felt humiliated.
Well, not humiliated exactly, but what's the right word? He felt very remorseful. He felt very remorseful that I did something wrong. Of course, it wasn't really something wrong because he didn't want to eat for his own enjoyment. He wanted to eat only for the sake of service. So in a sense, it wasn't wrong. But still, he's setting the example for us. There is the instance of the servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whose name was, what was his name? Govinda. Where did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu live in Puri? In one room in Kashi Mishra's house that was called Gambhira. And it was a very small room and it had just one small door. And one time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was sleeping in the room, but right across the doorway. And Govinda, as was his custom, would come every day to massage the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as he lay to take rest. Now this time, what could he do? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was lying in the doorway. So he would have to cross over Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's body to go on the other side if he had to go and do the service. So he didn't hesitate. And that's a big offense. Even to cross over any human being's body is an offense. And by the way, we should be a little careful. Sometimes I have noticed in temples when there's a lot of devotees offering obeisances to the deities, some devotees and step over other people's bodies and go. Yeah? So that's not to be done. We don't step over. Because they are devotees, and even if they're not devotees, we don't do it because Krishna is seated in their heart. But Govinda didn't hesitate. And he stepped over whom? Not just an ordinary Vaishnava, he stepped over Krishna himself, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he performed his service. And then after some time, Mahaprabhu fell asleep. He was asleep and then he woke up after a while. And then Mahaprabhu said, so Govinda, have you had your prasadam or not? He said, no, I'll have it now. So why didn't you have it? He said, how could I cross over your body and go? So Mahaprabhu said, well, what did he say? Well, how did you enter? You crossed over my body to enter the room. So just as you crossed over my body to enter the room, you can cross over my body to leave the room. But you know, the devotees are more intelligent than Krishna. So Govinda replied, when I came in for your service. If I had to go out, I would be doing it for my service, because I had to eat. So for your service, I'm willing to do anything. But there was no need for me to do it for my service. I wouldn't do that offense to cross over your body just because I had to eat. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy to hear that. So this is the mentality. So these are our heroes. See, Govinda. So from Madhavendra Puri's story we can understand how we shouldn't worry about our happiness and distress. We should feel remorseful about doing wrong things for ourselves. But sometimes if we have to make a little violation of some rule for the service of Krishna, then in rare cases it may be permitted. Any other lessons that we can learn from this story? Yes.
Voluntarily accepting some vow or austerity for the pleasure of Krishna. Like Madhavendra Puri had accepted the vow of eating only when someone offers. We can't imitate such a high standard, but accepting some vow or some austerity for the Krishna.
Very nice. So just as Madhavendra Puri accepted the vow of the ayachika vritti, or eating food only when somebody offered it to him, we can also accept the vow of ayachika vritti. No, okay. We can also follow some vow according to our means, but we have to be careful that it's realistic and practical. Sometimes in enthusiasm in the month of in Kartik or in Chaturmasya, devotees get enthusiastic and they take vows. All of a sudden, first day I'll chant 64 rounds every day. Good. But it doesn't last long. After the second day, then they realize it's not so easy. And then it goes down. So don't take vows easily. But the principle that we should accept certain vows in our life if we are fixed and firm in Krishna consciousness, that is good. For example, chanting minimum 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day. For example, following the 4 regulative principles, like that. So we may have our own sankalpas, our own determination to do this. Good point. Any other point? Lessons we can learn from Madhavendra Puri? Wonderful. So for Madhavendra Puri, it wasn't only the kheer or the sweet rice that was important, the mud pot was also important because Krishna had touched the mud pot also. Anything connected to Krishna is important. It wasn't that because the kheer was delicious, so that was important, and the mud is just mud. It's not important. No. Because it's connected to Krishna, it's important. I think last time when I was in Australia, I was narrating this incident. I don't know whether here or in Sydney, that in one of our ISKCON temples, it so happened, and it probably is a common occurrence, that the sweet rice Mahaprasadam was getting stolen. As it came off the altar, and the pujaris are busy here, there, meanwhile, it's gone. Or sometimes they would store it in a nice place to distribute it later, it's gone. So this became a mystery in the whole temple. And the pujaris would keep it in a safe place, they would change places. But wherever they kept it, whatever they did, it would disappear. And only the sweet rice would go. And then finally they locked it, but still it would go. You see, in those days you didn't have CCTVs and all that. So the matter went up to the temple president. The temple president also was trying to think what to do. Who is this person who's doing that? They had guards put there. Do what it used to disappear. Finally, they caught the devotee one day. It was a brahmachari. So then the temple president called him in. Why are you stealing like this? Every day you're causing so much agony to all of us. We've been trying to figure out who is stealing this Mahaprasadam. So this brahmachari was quite intelligent. He said, but Prabhu, this is Mahaprasadam. And one must be greedy for Mahaprasadam. This is what Prabhupada says, it's Krishna. Mahaprasadam is not different from Krishna. And I'm only seeking Krishna, I'm not doing anything wrong. So the temple president was more intelligent than the brahmachari. So he said, absolutely right. Mahaprasadam is the same as Krishna and we should be greedy for Mahaprasadam. But my question to you is, why were you never greedy for the Karela Mahaprasadam? Or the Dal Mahaprasadam? Or the Sabji Mahaprasadam? Why only for the sweet rice Mahaprasadam? That means you were not attached to this as being non-different from Krishna. You were attached to this because you wanted to satisfy your tongue, because of your taste buds. So therefore, he didn't see all the forms of Mahaprasadam equally. If he did, like Madhavendra Puri, he would have accepted anything as Mahaprasadam. Therefore, there are some devotees actually who mix Mahaprasadam and take it. Some devotees go to an extreme. The sweet, everything they mix together, they take it. Because they don't want to have the conception of, I want this, I don't want that. This is tasty, this is not so tasty, so I'll take the tasty things. So they mix it because they want to see it only as Krishna, as non-different from Krishna. So Madhavendra Puri also saw everything connected with Krishna as being very worshipable and equally worthy of being tasted. So he was eating little bits of those mud pots every day. So there are many lessons like this we can learn. This is only a few examples. So now it's 1 o'clock. We break now, isn't it? So we break now for the lunch break. And we'll be back at what time? Then you'll make the announcements. Okay. Hare Krishna. And we'll talk about other types of heroes as we meet and the lessons we can learn from them. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.